Hello guys, Chinson here, and I wanted to say thank you so much for the 40 subscribers. I know it isn't that much, but it still makes me happy that there are people who likes my content at least. But as always, if you're new here and like my content, please be sure to subscribe and like. Anyways, I'll be doing some pro-revenge. Sit tight and enjoy these revenge that Dutch said we can't afford. Sexual misadventures with college roommate's crazy ex-girlfriend. This right sounds like a crazy adventure. My second roommate at a certain college in Texas had the exact same problem as my first one. Personal hygiene. What the heck is it with people who don't freaking bathe in college? Oh, believe me, I remember this one kid. He was sweaty AF. Anyway, in addition to that, I felt like this mother because every time he washes his clothes, he'll leave them for days on his bottom bunk. And unless I fold them, they'll get all over the floor and get dirty again. I complained to the resident director, but there was nothing he could do. Grr. Things came to a boil when he cost me 10% of my grade on a report in criminal justice class, when his freshly laundered clothes that he dumped on his bunk ripped my report that I had sitting on the microwave. Yes, these rooms were small and I couldn't find it until later that evening. I turned it in late and professor said that if I turned it on time, I'll have gotten a 97. But since it was a day late, I'll have to settle for 87. Thermonuclear anger. I must have revenge. Anywho, a few weeks later, he was playing his gangsta rap CDs, and I saw a picture of him and a cute redhead that I talked to every now and then in the dining hall on campus. This was odd, because I knew that he was single. I told him, "Hey, I know this girl. What's the deal? Is she your girlfriend?" He locked eyes on me and said, "Heck no. I made that mistake last semester." I looked at her picture admiringly. He shook his head. "No, dude, whatever you're thinking, don't even consider it. That dog is out of her mind. She's bonkers. She's a freaking bad, but freaking crazy. I'm talking crazy. It didn't end well with me and her, and she now hates my freaking guts," I said. "Okay, I'll steer clear." He sighed in relief and said, "I'm only looking out for you, man." The next day, I spoke with her and said, "Hey," her name, roommate's name, is my roommate in the dorm. He said that you two dated, that you are crazy, and basically that I should avoid you like the plague. Bearing that in mind, would you like to go out on a date with me? She paused, grinned at me, and said, "Yeah, okay." We had sex on the first date. She was a very, very generous lover. Thus began the torment of my roommate with the antics of my new girlfriend. She would come over to our dorm room all the time, hang out, play video games, study, grip about backstabbing female classmates in between all those activities. She would try practically sucking the lips off of my head with her generous affection. Oddly, the first thing she'll do every time she saw my roommate was passive-aggressively greet him, say that it was good to see him, and give him some compliment about his hair. Whatever. My roomie was pissed. He said that our relationship violated the bro code, or some such nonsense. I told him that such a thing only applied if we were actually friends. We weren't. Almost every day after class, we'll turn my dorm room's AC so that it was cold, and we'll have a reason to do a little giggle and tickle under the covers. We once even had sex in the top bunk about my roomie when he was trying to sleep. He was right, she was a freak in bed. For some reason, she always wanted to give me a BJ in my dorm room when he was in class. I wasn't gonna complain. We once even got kicked out of a movie theater for this. When we were showering in the female dormitory, she once shoved a finger up my gazoo and I shouted WTF. She said, okay, now I know. That's where we draw the line. Yes, my roomie was also right about her being a little mentally off. Her mood swings were up, down, left, right, and sideways because she had bipolar disorder. I didn't find this out until 3 years later, but that's a different story. Every day that she came over, she'll once again passively aggressively greet my roomie, say that it is good to see him and compliment his hair. Every time he'll pat his melon and look at me in confusion. I shrugged. What drove my roommate up the wall was what happened after he told me that he was crushing on a certain hot blonde student. I told him that he was wasting his time, that she was lesbian, but he had his hopes up. When I told my girlfriend, found out about it, she got my roomie's attention, then made out with the hot blonde right in front of him. I was both amused and turned on. I later told him that we had a menage a trois with that blonde, but I was lying through my freaking teeth. Jeez, I wish. Shaking my head. Anywho, he and I were never roommates again. I finally got around to asking my girlfriend, whom, at the least, I was blissfully happy with, why she would always compliment his hair when she saw him. She grinned and said, "You know all those BJs I gave you when he was in class?" I nodded. She continued, "I was spitting them into a shampoo bottle." Okay, lady, I think you're taking a little bit too far with that, but you know what, if that's your version of getting back at someone, you do you, but wow, wasn't really expecting that. As much as I'm so up for destroying people alive, that's wow. I mean, I heard that it's good conditioner. Maybe. Sister's bully gets excluded from school. So a few weeks ago, my sister seems really upset. She is only 13 and is normally very cheerful. We have a very good bond together and rarely fall out over anything. So me, being the big brother, ask her what's the matter. While she is texting on her phone, she tries to pass it on as nothing at the start, but soon starts to crack, telling me about some girl in her year who has been bullying her nonstop. She showed me the message on her phone of this girl in a group chat on Snapchat, just taking the complete piss out of my sister in front of all her friends. Luckily, none of the other friends seemed that they were joining in of what I could read, and it looked like it was just this one girl who I will call G1. My sister then showed me G1's Instagram, and she is also sending pictures to my sister of people with weight problems, trying to indicate that my sister is fat. I was so upset that I asked my sister for G1's Snapchat username so I could try and understand why she is being so mean to my sister. She gives me the whole "F off, you're not involved," and "you should ask her" type of stuff without getting cross, since I'm 16 and would be weird for me to start shouting at a 13-year-old girl over text. Just tell her to stop messaging her. This works for a few weeks and my sister doesn't hear from G1. But G1 couldn't handle being nice and went back to bullying her over text again. This time my sister told me straight up, and I'm happy she did. First, I asked for my sister to unlock her phone, and I screenshotted every message that G1 had sent to my sister, including the things she had sent to me, and sent it all onto my phone. The next day, I go to school as normal and request a meeting with my head of school principal, and I showed him all the messages that G1 had sent to my sister and me. He was shocked, and you could see that he was visibly mad with G1. He thanks me for telling him and asked me to leave the room. Later that day, as I'm walking out of the lunch hall, I see G1 sat in the reception with 2 police officers, and she was sobbing. Why am I surprised? Luckily, she saw me as I walked past and gave her a smile. My sister told me that the head brought her into his office with 2 police officers and said how unacceptable her behavior was. Our school takes this very seriously, and that G1 was also getting a 7-day exclusion. I was so happy, as well as my sister was. All of her friends were as well, since G1 had also been picking on them, apparently. G1 and my sister have now made up, and G1 doesn't dare pick on anyone. But it's always nice to see G1 noticing me in the hallway and looking down like she doesn't notice me. TLDR, girl cyberbullies my sister, so I get her excluded for a week. Note, the reason the police got involved is because a few years back, a student went through a form of cyberbullying at the school and made some threats on their life. I'm glad that they did, because otherwise G1 may have carried on being so nasty. And that's how you handle the situation maturely, and hope the adults would actually help instead of giving the bully a stern talking. Because I know being bullied always doesn't end in this case, sadly. But I'm glad OP and his sister got a happy ending. Alright guys, that will be all from me for today. I think I'll remember the first post for a while, because that's just gross, but it's still really funny in my eyes. But I do question one thing about the roommate having terrible hygiene, and if he really did use the shampoo or not. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Anyways, I'll be back tomorrow with more reads. Have a nice day, guys.